Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto, Willies. Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to the entire United States. And of course, good morning to the entire world receiving our signals via the magic of El Internet. How is everybody doing today? I trust all's doing fine. Anyway, without further ado, let's get to the studio. Where residing right now is El Señor Jacques Van Bever and Mayana. Buenos días, mis hermanos y hermanas.
Hey, good morning. Good morning. I'm here. I'm back.
You are back. Hey, I don't know, but earlier today when you started the music, it was nice, great, and loud. And somehow now to you guys, or I'm hearing you guys a little bit lighter. I can hear you, but not as good and robust and loud.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, we're having a little bit of trouble with our headphones too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's up on good levels.
There you go. That's the volume I'm talking about now that I can hear you.
Maybe it just took a little while to like transmit or something.
Yeah, it had to build up those buffers. You know how that goes.
Yeah.
Had to fill them cans with water or something.
Yeah, you got to fill it with something, man. Anyway, how you guys are doing this morning?
I'm good. I'm good. I've just been watching you on different projects, and it's been interesting. Enjoying it. Yeah, I've been keeping you on things.
Well, it's funny because I did the Attitude on Friday, and I just noticed that they played it today. So I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I listened to it. I heard it.
Yeah, so we had a lot of fun with Arnie Aronson. That she had a great panel. Those guys.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Arnie Aronson. It's crazy. I'm like politics people.
There you go. Hey, but before you go, Jack, you know what's so sad? What is beating down on Jamaica right now? They are going to be hit so hard. I hope the result isn't as bad as it was in Puerto Rico, but it seems like it will.
Yes, I still have a family there. So, yeah. Well,
I wish them the best.
Yeah, our hearts and our minds are with them out there for sure.
Absolutely. And I'm definitely, I'll let you know how everything turns out with them as well.
I appreciate that. I have so many friends from Jamaica. I believe it or not, I also have a bit of Jamaican roots because of the Panama Canal and the folks that built the canal in Panama, all that good stuff. It's a story. Anyway, what's up, guys?
Well, here's your headlines today. The struggle for America's soul intensifies as progressive voices confront the cruelty, hypocrisy, and cowardice defining our era. Ashley Etienne exposes Trump's contempt for struggling farmers. Meanwhile, the New York Times editorial board wrings their hands over progressivism instead of wringing their hands over fascism. Yeah, their kind of priorities are messed up there. Proving corporate media's moral confusion. And in the heart of Texas, Ruth Kravetz of Community Voices for Public Education reminds us that democracy begins in the classrooms, neighborhoods, and community action. This show demands clarity, courage, and commitment to people-powered democracy. Right on, brother.
Right on, my brother. Right on, my brother. We are going to have a great day. I think today, Elise Bench is going to be pitching with us. Am I right?
You're right.
Yes. Yeah. She's going to be pitching. You want me to cue her up?
Yeah. Let me just say that if you guys want to hear a beautiful voice, calming and ready to go ahead and say, please, let's support Politics Done Right, because we want to support Politics Done Right. But who better to say that than the one and only Elise Bench?
You're the most kind host, I swear. Like you're so nice to your people. Call and they want to argue with you. And Egberto, you always have the voice of calm and reason, and I really appreciate that. And you're always so kind to welcome me onto your show. I'm pleased to be here to help you raise money and fund drive. We're trying to get this knocked out. We're on our way to our overall goal of $175,000. And you can help us reach that right now at 713-526-5738 option 1. kpt.org. I'll be back more later on in the show to tell you about some things you can pick up as thank you gifts, including, coffee with Egberto and also coffee with KPFT. We've got a special offer for you as a thank you gift when you donate at the $10 a month level. 713-526-5738 option 1, kpft.org. I know we're starting to get rolling, and I'll kick it right back over to you, Egberto, so we can get going with Politics Done Right this morning.
Thank you so kindly, Elise. Thank you so kindly. Later on, we're going to be hearing from Ruth Kravetz about the election and quite a bit more. And I think you guys are going to love listening to Ruth Kravetz as she calls in. But before she calls in, I want to talk a little bit about how Jack opened the program with the New York Times. And the article that I want to reference is one out of Common Dreams by Julie Haller. And it was, why is the New York Times editorial board more worried about progressivism than fascism? And, it boggles my mind. It makes me want to pull the hairs out of my head, specifically the ones that I don't have. Well, actually, I do have hair on my head. It's a long story. I shave it every day. But anyway, that's a long story. Anyhow, here it goes. It says, what does this political moment in our country call for? The MAGA president and right-wing Supreme Court are shredding the Constitution at lightning speed, with the full acquiescence of President Donald Trump's merry band of sycophants in Congress. Masked men are kidnapping people off the streets, disappearing them to detention centers across the country, and deporting them to countries our State Department warns travelers not to visit. Meanwhile, protesters against the lawlessness are attacked by federal troops with less lethal weapons. An estimated 7 million peaceful, and it's actually quite a bit more than that, but an estimated 7 million peaceful protesters took to the streets in October. They took to the streets in October, and I'm changing screens and lost where I was. But anyway, an estimated 7 million peaceful protesters took to the streets in October 18 in the second largest demonstration in U.S. history. Again, we witnessed the second largest demonstration in U.S. history, larger than the Civil Rights March in D.C., larger than the Men's March, larger than all these other marches, the second largest. The only one larger than that, folks, the only one larger than that was the Climate March, if you remember that, okay? And that was Earth Day in 1970. We haven't had a rally this long since. Yet, the nation's newspaper of record, and what is that? The New York Times supposedly is the newspaper of record, whose headquarters sat literally a stone's throw away from New York City No King's March route. The protest was deemed not important enough for a front page story. Not enough for a front page story. Two small below the fold photos were offered instead, with the accompanying article on page. What page would you think it is? Think about it. What page? Page 23. It's true that the New York Times has a history of downplaying protests, specifically progressive protests, but it's also true that it's only certain kinds of protests that they downplay. When right-wingers under the banner of the Tea Party movement held in 2009 what the Times described as the largest rally against President Obama since he took office, they drew a crowd of 2 orders of magnitude smaller than the No Kings. I've spoken to you guys about that before. They bring a little bit of people and the cameras give it not a wide shot, but a small shot to make it look like a lot. I spoke to you guys about going to Washington, D.C. in a snowstorms, and we brought thousands of people to Washington, D.C. And we performed even in a snowstorm. We couldn't get any coverage from the newspapers, except CNN came for a little bit. And when I watched the TV, wasn't even mentioned. And we brought a lot of people out there to the West Mall of the Capitol talking and complaining about what the government was doing then. There was a fight for Obamacare then. Neo mentioned, you know what the coverage was at that rally? KPFT, Pacifica, the blogs that I did. That was the extent of the coverage of the Enough is Enough rally in DC that we conducted with the Coffee Party. Same with the New York Times. When right-wingers under the banner of the Tea Party movement held in 2009, what the Times did was to really highlight those guys. But of course, when we had the LGBTQ march, which was huge, Nia mentioned, Virla mentioned. When we had the men's march, I talked a little bit about it. But the Times deserves special attention partly because it is seen as a standard-bearing liberal paper in the country. Liberal? Really? No, the Times isn't liberal. No news in America is liberal. None. The only place you can get real progressive news is through the third-party rags, independent media, what you hear here on programs like Politics Done Right or the Progressive Forum, etc. Of course, the Progressive Forum by Wally James here on KPFT. Great program, always doing his research, always going places. But the Times deserves special attention partly because it's seen as a standard bearer of the liberal newspaper in the country, which is false. And as a standard bearer, it sees its role as establishing the ideological boundaries of the Democratic Party. Most notably, and hear this part, by drawing the line in the sand on the left that the Democrats must not cross. And this, in turn, is why 2 days after the massive pre-democracy marches, the New York Times editorial board published a forceful message of its own, not against fascism, which is crippling the country right now. As everybody know, our problem today, our problem right now, is the problem of becoming a fascist state. And that is what one would expect the newspaper of choice in this country to be really attacking, to be really pointing out what's going on. But instead, the New York Times mantra has been to talk to the Democratic Party as far as how center they need to be. Because according to them, that is where the country is. That is false. Back in 2000, and I believe it was around 2015 or so, I was at a conference, I think it was in Arizona with the Netroots conference, and Elizabeth Warren was one of our keynote speakers. And Elizabeth Warren went on the stage and she made a statement many of us have been writing about for a long time. And that is, if you take ideology out of the equation and you ask every single American in this country what exactly they want their government to do for them, what do they want we, the people, to do for them? In other words, what do we want to do for ourselves, we, the people, our government? And the answers are always the policies supported by progressive. Family leave, subsidies for health, for taking care of your kids so that you can go and get a job. In other words, you don't want to be on subsistence. You want to be, most Americans want to be out there working, but they want support from the government to allow them to be able to be self-sufficient. They want to be able to have affordable care for their kids, affordable health care. What we support, Medicare for all. When described, Medicare for all. When described, they want to take care of themselves. In fact, even Republicans want progressive policies. I sat down in a Starbucks with a woman who presumably thought I was a conservative, given where I was and given that I was always there. And as she was having health care problems with her insurance company, etc., we started to have a conversation. And in that conversation, we talked, and we finally started talking about all the ills of her insurance policy. And we spoke. And I gave her leading questions. Wouldn't it be nice? Would you want this? Oh, that is what I would want. That is how insurance should really work, Egberto. That is what should happen. And I start to feel guilty because here is this conservative woman here in Kingwood. And I'm talking about policies. And the policies I'm talking about are left-wing progressive policies. And this woman is eating it all up. I know she's a conservative. And after the guilt went over me and I was able to go ahead and say, ma'am, I just want you to know that, I'm really a very progressive kind of a guy. I am a left-wing guy. And what you just described that you really want as well is something called Medicare for all. And yes, I am a very liberal guy. And the woman turned red like a cherry, and then looked at me and said, but you are so nice. And I was glad she said that, because what I used that for was a segue to say the caricature that the channels you watch make of us is just that, a caricature. Because you should go have lunch with liberal. There's a group here in town called, well, there are several different chapters. Liberal Women Who Lunch. I told her you should try to find one of those groups and become a member of one of those groups. And no, you don't have to be a Democrat to be a part of that group. You can be anybody, and check it out. And you could see I made her feel comfortable in as much as she found out I was now that liberal with horns, but she was comfortable. And as she walked out of that coffee shop, in my mind, I said, at least we had her for a few minutes, because I know she's going to go home to hubby. And hubby is, she's going to say a few things to hubby, her husband, that is. And her husband is going to go bat, you know what, crazy. And then she's probably going to think she has to fall back in line. But for that moment, she understood what it was like. She was a progressive. I'm going to be going to Ruth in a minute, but let me go ahead and do one quick pitch, folks. We are at 0 for Politics Done Right at this point in time. As you know, we are actually in fund drive mode, but we're still giving you a full show. In fact, Ruth is going to have a lot to say in a little bit. But I want to ask you so kindly, while we make that transition to Ruth, to please consider becoming a donor right now so that I can call you out and say thank you. Call 713-526-5738, extension number 1, and give whatever you can. We're asking for sustainers, if you can, $5 a month, less than the price of a coffee a month. I am a $10 a month sustainer, and by the way, nothing you give or donate here comes to me. I get a big fat 0. I'm simply a volunteer doing this program. But we need you. For the story that I just told you, we have a lot of that work to do. For the stories that come out in the New York Times, we have a lot of that work to do. We have a lot of deprogramming to do, folks. And it's us with little dollars, with small dollars. They are spending billions of dollars to convince other people to vote against their interests in order for the billionaires to continue getting rich. And that's not a cliche, folks. That's reality. The bifurcated economy, the K economy that we have, we're just 10% are doing extraordinarily well, but 61% are a paycheck away from a financial distress. That is by design, folks, and only because we have allowed it to happen, and we have to be able to tell folks how not to let it happen. I ask you kindly, 713-526-5738, extension number 1, to contribute. We need your contributions for the next few days. So kindly, we need it now. And without further ado, let's go to the beautiful voice, Elise Bench.
Thank you, Egberto. Yeah, I love the story you told. And those are the kinds of stories that I think that the listeners and especially, followers of Politics Done Right really appreciate hearing, because you are advocating on the air, behind the scenes, where you are in the community. You are the person that we hear on the air each and every weekday from 6 a.m. until 7 a.m. here on KPFT, Politics Done Right, and Egberto Willies, a program that you will not find anywhere else. And because of your generous contributions to this radio station, we're able to bring this type of programming to you, and we do it commercial free. We do break a couple of times a year to tell you a little bit about KPFT, but that's only because we need your support. 713-526-5738, option 1, kpft.org. Thank you so much this morning to Susan. She called before we went on the air at 6 and got her contribution in. We are looking for yours next. Without your support, this doesn't work. And without your support, freedom and the voice of freedom starts to dim and can even die because we see it happening around us every single day. Egberto points out a lot of examples. He talked about it just this morning and what we're looking at, and we're fighting. We've been in this fight with you for 55 years to maintain the freedom of speech that you deserve to have access to, no matter where you are, but especially in a city like Houston and a state like Texas. We cannot afford to let this resource go away. We must maintain free speech radio. The cost is too high to let us fall by the wayside. Can you join us right now in the fight? 713-526-5738, option 1, kpft.org. We have about a $500 goal we're trying to make this morning. With your $10 a month sustaining donation, we can get there together. Just 4 or 5 of us taking $10 out of our pockets each and every month would help sustain this station and carry us on. 713-526-5738. We want to thank you next at kpft.org. Back to you, Egberto.
Thank you so kindly, Elise. Folks, don't forget, you can also go to KPF. While you're listening, you can go to kpft.org, hit that donate button, select the item of your choice. Make sure to select Politics Done Right as a program you're supporting. Remember that we still have Coffee with Egberto, $250 contribution. I'll drive anywhere around Harris County or surrounding counties so that we can have a cup of coffee. We find a location. People have fun doing it. Anyway, folks, Ruth Kravetz, a longtime educator, parent, advocate, and co-founder of Community Voices for Public Education, a multiracial, community-based, not-for-profit that unites parents, educators, students, and members, is going to join us today to discuss our upcoming election and why and the things that we should do. Ruth, how are you doing this morning, my dear friend?
I'm doing great.
You know, I met Ruth I went to give a little talk on Medicare and Medicare Advantage, and Ruth was there doing her advocating, and I'm like, I need to speak to this woman. Anyway, tell us a little about yourself first, Ruth.
So I'm a lifelong educator. I'm having a little bit of an echo, so I'm going to call you back.
No. It's the echo. It's a problem that we have. It's our problem. So take it away from your ears as you speak.
So I have headphones in. Let's try this.
Okay, excellent. But yeah, it's a problem that we're still trying to get fixed with our system, Ruth. Go ahead.
Okay, and I'll just try to ignore the fact that I'm hearing an echo. So I was a high school teacher for about 30 years, and I was an administrator, and my children are proud graduates of HISD, and I believe firmly in the power and the promise of public education. No problem. I'm just trying to find a different way. I hear my voice like repeating. Let's try something else.
All right. As we kind of get that settled. Sorry about that, but I mean, we can't help that in the short term. Okay. Are you back? Well,
let's see. No, I'm gonna hang up and call you right back.
Okay, that's fine. While Ruth hangs up and calls us right back to see if she can get a better setup so that the speaking doesn't affect. You know, some people can do it and some people can't, and that is when you have that echo coming back in your ears, which, you know, you really shouldn't have. But I get it. And we'll get that fixed. Sometime we'll be able to get somebody in-house to go ahead and fix that problem. But anyhow, while we get Ruth back on the air, please remember we are in Fund Drive. So please give us a call at 713-526-5738. Extension number 1, and give whatever you can. Folks, we cannot do this without you. We simply cannot do this without you. 713-526-5738. If that is Ruth that's on right now, go ahead and patch her right into the signal, please, my dear friends, my dear guys in the studio. But anyhow, folks, 713-526-5738, extension 1 to contribute. We are awaiting your first contribution of the day because we are at 0. Ruth, come on in.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm good. Okay, as you were saying.
So I've been in HISD and fighting for public ed and teaching kids, trying to improve democracy in our city for years and years. And couple of years ago, HISD was taken over by Governor Abbott and Marath, and most people thought that change might be helpful, but we knew that it would be really problematic. And HISD was taken over for bad test scores for one school out of 274. And that makes no sense. And since the takeover, 8,000 teachers have been forced out of HISD. That's 40% every year. Kids aren't allowed to read books in school, even in kindergarten. And kids are being treated like they're in prison and not in school. And at the very basic level, what all of us should want for every single child is an experience where they can learn and grow, become ready for college, career, and life, and be able to look forward into a future and have a chance of experiencing their dreams.
Now, one of the problems that we have is that, if I remember correctly, is that the governor appointed somebody to take over our schools, etc. But we actually have some power, or will be gaining power with this election. You had some pointers to talk about for the elections in not only Harris County, but also in the vicinity, as far as what we can do to take these boards back over, correct?
Correct. So when somebody comes in like Mike Miles and does so much damage to the students, to the teachers, to the parents, to the city, to every single person in Houston, they want to fight back. And a year ago, Mike Miles, the harmful dystopian superintendent of Houston ISD, who was appointed by the governor, tried to get a $4.4 billion bond passed. And the people said, no, we're not giving money to a thief who's keeping the money for himself, spending $500,000 on musicals about himself while kids don't have the materials they need in the classroom. And people voted it down. And this year, there's an opportunity to elect HISD trustees, and in another district, which I'll get to in a second, who oppose this full takeover and will stand up to Mike Miles and fight for our kids. And it's in 3 districts: in District 5 in Southwest Houston, in District 6, including River Oaks, Montrose, and the Galleria, and in another district, which is in West Houston. And there's a clear divide between people who will stand up for our kids and people who are Republican, who support this horrible takeover, who supported the unlawful bond. And you could vote for people who are good. And those people are Audrey, Maria, and Michael in HISD. And then in Fair, there's a school board election for a school board that has 7 members. 6 of the 7 currently are functionally MAGA. And this election is for 3 people who will also stand up to make sure that books are in schools, that kids are treated with love and respect, that teachers are supported and their input valued. And those people's names are Gilmart, Lane, and Camarena.
Now, let me just say one thing, because people, when you speak about a board being MAGA, you are also meaning that the current board, the majority of people in the board, in the case of, I think you said it was 6 out of 7 are the kind of folk that support taking books out of school, trying to control absolutely every aspect of a kid's life for a particular ideological reason. And I think what you're saying is that's not education. As an educator, you know that's not education, correct?
Correct. We want people who are trustees of school boards to do what they're supposed to do, which is to make sure that the people's money is spent on Texas public school children, that the policy, the vision, and values are what we all know schools are supposed to do, to help kids be ready for college, career, and life, to feel some joy in school, to learn how to love learning, and to learn for their teachers until they're ready to learn for themselves, and to experience all the things that we expect of young people, so that kids particularly are ready to think critically, to recognize, for example, that bulldozing the East Wing without a permit is wrong, who have the critical thinking skills to know that human beings shouldn't be picked up on the street for being Latino or having a misdemeanor traffic ticket. This doesn't happen by accident. And if we don't help children to grow up to think critically, then our democracy is in peril.
I think that it
down ballot. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead, please.
This local down ballot election, where a lot of people don't know about, in Cy-Fair, which is the 3rd largest district in the state, and in Houston ISD, where people don't even think there's any reason to vote for board members because the rubber stamping appointed board. Originally, 7 of the 9 were living in affluent neighborhoods west of downtown, who basically rubber stamp everything that Mike Miles does, from raising the threshold for board approval from 100,000 to $1 million, who rubber stamp him giving himself a 5-year extension when the public hates it, who rubber stamp the lies that Mike Miles says about what's happening in our schools, particularly saying that scores are up when he has purposely excluded the most under-resourced student from being able to participate to artificially raise scores. They think that an elected board in HISD will have no power. So why bother voting? And I'm here to say that at some moment soon, the elected board will be returned to power. And if we don't elect good people, then people who hate our democracy, people who are far right, people who don't even believe in public education will be elected to sit and wait. And then when they get power, things will be even worse. Additionally, the people that we vote for, when they are elected, the ones who care about public education, Audrey, Maria, and Michael, will be able to stand up forcefully for public ed. The media will talk to them. They can be a bully pulpit for what is good and right in our schools. They can be a voice of reason, saying to the public who doesn't know that there are 3rd graders whose teachers tell them, please hide the books. The HISD administrators from the central office are coming, and they're going to give me a spot check. And if they see us reading books in school instead of excerpts from worksheets, they're going to give me a bad score, and then they're going to fire me. And that's a lot of weight to put on an 8-year-old. So in a week, or today, tomorrow, or Thursday or Friday, people who live in Southwest Houston, in West Houston, in Central Houston, and in Cy-Fair, they need to vote, and they're voting for 9-year-olds who don't have the right to read books in schools.
I think that's a good way to close it, folks. These elections, based on the early vote numbers, are very, very low turnout. It is not my place to scold, or we shouldn't be doing that. But let me tell you, as Ruth points out, there is reason to go out there and vote. We cannot really complain if we're not voting. And the people that are on the right, they have incentive to vote. They're sent out there. They have a big infrastructure that is putting them out there to vote at your expense. Voting is free. Well, I shouldn't say free, because some people have to find a sitter or whatever. But voting is our responsibility. Please go out there and vote. Ruth Kravetz, I want to thank you so kindly for coming on to Politics Done Right and giving your point of view and giving a necessary point of view. Thank you so kindly, Ruth. Anything you want to close with?
I always think it's good to repeat the names of the people we want to vote for, so I'm going to say their names again. If you live in Meyerland, Bel Air, near Rice University, close to Westbury, you can vote for Maria Benzon. If you live in Fondren Southwest, Sharpstown, or West Houston in HISD, you can vote for Michael. And if you live in River Oaks, Afton, the Galleria, Briar Grove, and Montrose, for most parts of Montrose, you can vote for Audrey. And these are strong, powerful, driven, committed people. Audrey is a Harvard-educated pediatric neurologist who has kids in HISD schools and knows how kids learn. Maria has been a lifelong educator and has worked all over SD and has a PhD in educational psychology and knows how to get HISD back on track. And Michael is a longtime successful principal who also is exactly who we need when our school district is returned back to us, and how to undo years of damage by this harmful dystopian takeover. And it's not just the turnout rate. It's a great opportunity for you and everyone else in Houston to triple our votes and make a powerful case for what we believe in, which is improving public education, ensuring that the democracy flourishes, and making sure that we have an elected board to hold accountable at the ballot box.
Ruth Kravetz, thank you so kindly for appearing on Politics Done Right, and you have a wonderful rest of your day.
You too.
All right. Anyway, folks, we are in Fund Drive, and unfortunately, we are 39 minutes into it, and Politics Done Right is still at the big donut, 0. We have a $500. We have a $500 minimum for this program this morning, and we are at zero. We try to do our best to make sure to do our part to keep people informed. I am a volunteer. I don't get paid, but in as much as I don't get paid, the station does need the support for our electricity, the 100,000 watt transmitter, for the very small staff that we have, to keep a building, to keep its taxes up, to do all of that. And the only way that's done is through you. Earlier, I mentioned about what the quote unquote mainstream media is doing to our body politic by not centering on the people, but on centering on controlling ideologies. We are constantly going to go down the path of income inequality and wealth disparity. If our people aren't informed, with real info as opposed to what the mainstream media provides, this is why we so need those of you who have the wherewithal to do so to support the program. This isn't for any individual here. This is for our entire body politic. Let me just say this. The right wing, those people you see them wearing their MAGA hats and all of that. People that the MAGA ideology is not supporting, but they're fooled into believing that. Some of these guys don't have a place to land. They don't have anything, but they are supporting that ideology that's failing them. Here we have a station that is there ensuring that we also bring some of them onto the fold. We need you, and we need you now, my dear brothers and sisters. So please, if you have the wherewithal now, please give us a call at 713-526-5738, extension number 1, and donate whatever you can. $5 a month, $10 a month, a coffee a month. Does keeping people informed, getting the crud out, is that worth you helping us with a coffee a month? Let's go to Elise. Elise, thank you so kindly for being here with us, Elise.
Thank you. I loved hearing from Ruth this morning, and that was just in my mind a fabulous example of what KPFT can do for the community and continues to do, because chances are, if you're listening to this radio station, if you're listening to Politics Done Right with Egberto Willies, you're here because you know that you're not getting the whole story anywhere else. You're not getting the news that you need, the information you can count on, because KPFT brings you something that's different. We don't have corporate media staring down our, staring at our paperwork, trying to tell us what to say. We're able to dig a little bit deeper and bring community voices onto the program, just like Ruth, who isn't afraid to stand up and tell the truth. And we stand by her for that. And we want to be a part of that in your life today, tomorrow, and next month. It takes resources to keep this station independent and on the air, and to keep voices like Egberto's free and available to speak to you every morning from 6 to 7 a.m. If this is something that's meaningful to you, if you recognize how important and vital this is to your life and to your community, we ask you now to please continue to support this radio station in the ways that you can, whether that's a $5 a month, $10 a month, maybe even a $20 a month donation at 713-526-5738, option 1, kpft.org. We're getting close to 7 o'clock. We'll have to turn it over to Amy Goodman and Democracy Now! Coming up in a few minutes, but not before we make sure and support this show, Egberto Willies and Politics Done Right. If you can do a $10 a month sustaining donation to KPFT, that's going to get us even closer to that overall goal that we've got of $175,000. Let's do it together this morning. 713-526-5738, option 1, kpft.org. Back to you.
Thank you so kindly, Elise. Thank you so kindly. Will you be the one that starts us, give us our first contribution of the morning? Could you be that first one? Could you be that first one that actually helps us get over that hump? I mean, think about it. Your contributions ensure that we can actually get this information out to our listeners and our listeners' friends and our listeners' families. We can make a difference exponentially Again, our throughput with the small dollar contributions we get from all you wonderful people out there, all our wonderful listeners, is so much more powerful. All right, let's go to Eddie. Eddie, come on in. 1 minute.
Hey, good morning. I just wanted to talk to you. Shared a story about a conservative, maybe right-wing woman you had a talk with. Mentioned how nice you were, and you talked about how the media liberals and progressives with horns, and it was a good story. I think most conservative people will listen and talk, but then you put horns on her husband, and I think the same caricature that you're trying to paint, that you're saying right-wing paint liberals with, you're painting the right wing with yourself.
Let me ask you a question, because that's a valid point, right? And the reason that's a valid point is that you're saying that I may be demonizing the other side. Now, I want to put a caveat onto that. I don't think telling the truth is demonization, though. In other words, if I tell you that the Republican Party stands against subsidies for family leave, if I tell you that the Republican Party stands against subsidies for health care and the policies that they put out there actually harm people, I am not putting horns on them. I'm telling the truth. But when a Republican says that I am a communist, or when a Republican says that I want to hurt your child or I want to kill your child, that is a definite lie, right? So what I'm saying is, one of the things that a lot of folks would like to play is the 6 of one and half dozen of the other. What I always ask you, and I ask you this respectfully, Eddie, have you heard me say a lie pertaining to the other side, while the other side, I have shown you, continuously lie about what my beliefs or the beliefs of progressives are? Your response?
I think when you talk about subsidies, Republicans in general aren't against subsidies. They're against subsidies going to so many people that maybe don't need working bodies and people that can work and choose not to and collect Medicaid and other benefits.
Right.
We're against that.
Okay, let me just say that, Eddie, and you're correct. And guess who else is for that as well? Progressives. I am for that as well. I am for that as well, Eddie. And that's what I'm saying the lie is. The lie is that we just want to give away free things. And that's not the truth. It really isn't the truth. But Eddie, I want you to call back and have a longer conversation with me. We're at 47. I got to raise some money before 7. And at the same time, I got 3 other calls. So I really want to entertain and continue this conversation. Okay?
Good luck to you.
Thank you, brother. All right, folks, we have one small contribution. Thank you, Susan. Thank you for your contribution. Folks, we need to get those phones ringing now. If you could please give us a call at 713-526-5738. I am over $470 away from our goal of $500 today. And I really don't want to miss the goal. We want to make sure this program stays on air. 713-526-5738, extension number 1. If we have angels out there, Coffee with Egberto, 2 of them would put us there. $250 Coffee with Egberto, 2 of them would put us right there. But of course, if you can give $5 a month or $10 a month or whatever you can give, you'll make a difference. Let me get to Betty, and then I'll come back and ask again. But please consider calling or going to kpft.org now, and please make that contribution. Betty, come on in, sis.
Okay, morning. Can I and we the people think about ourselves when America's at stake? I kiss the ground we walk on and leave my good luck at the same time. America is what makes the world go round. Always be proud. Do not ban or blow away. Houston and Harris County, listen up. Egberto 90.1 is leaning on you. We lean on him 5 days a week. He returns on time. It is your time to give. Love y'all.
Love you, Betty. Love you, Betty. Love you, Betty. Okay, thank you so kindly, folks. That number is 713-526-5738, extension number 1. Please give whatever you can, or go to kpft.org, kpft.org. Help us get over that $500 hump this hour. We're almost out of time. We have about 14 minutes left. You can make that difference now. I know many of you have that option. Many of you have that $10 a month, that $15 a month, that $5 a month. And you can say, you know what? I am going to invest my money into making sure people are informed. You see the conversation I just had with Eddie. I want to continue that on conversation because Eddie is a good guy. You can hear it. He is a good guy. No horns, Eddie. No horns, brother. Bruce, come on in.
Hello.
You're here, Bruce.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm going to call tomorrow with my piece. But before I give my time up today, I want to say thank you, Ruth. Now I'll call tomorrow. Bye.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate your brevity. Let's go to brother Jimmy. Come on in, Jimmy. How you doing? Real quick for me, Jimmy.
Everybody to vote in the current election. We have early voting this week, and election day is November the 4th, next Tuesday. It's very important for everybody to vote. And you may not know who the candidates are, but I recommend looking at the Houston Chronicle's endorsements. They interview the candidates, they know what their records are, and they put out what they believe would be the best person for the job. So that's a good way to find out who is best for the job. Look at the Houston Chronicle endorsements.
Thank you so kindly for your voice, Jimmy, and thank you for always being here. And thank you for being a great donor to the program and to the station, my brother. Have a wonderful day. Johnny, come on in 1 minute, brother.
Yeah, I'll go online, see if I can get it. Some Chronicle online since I don't subscribe to that paper. But to our fellow time traveler, Eddie, I would say, Eddie, if you knew what I knew, and if you saw what I saw last night on NYT, on their Indisputable program, feature every night videos taken from around the country of people at gas stations and grocery stores, such like that. You would not be saying to Egberto what you said. I trust that you are a good guy, Egberto, and I believe you that you wouldn't say what you said because you're still learning. You're on your discovery journey. So continue to listen to KPFT. Get content off of freespeech.org. Visit TYT. Ignore legacy media. Legacy media is a poison, Eddie. It will poison your soul and your mind. Stay away from those guys and have a donut, a chocolate-filled croissant donut with Egberto the next time you see him. Bye-bye.
Yeah, Eddie, that's a good one. Get the coffee with Egberto. Let's go get some coffee. Thank you, Johnny. Have a good one, Johnny. Folks, the telephone number is 713-526-5738, extension number 1. Or go to kpft.org. Folks, we are still at just one small contribution. We need you. We need you now. Invest in us. Invest in our future. I appreciate that. And that's not a hyperbole, folks. We work this hard because we know that we can't be telling folks to just sit back and not do. We know we can make a difference. Bobby, come on in, Bobby.
Hello, good morning. I just wanted to urge all your listeners to go ahead and do what they can to support this station. To be honest, Egberto, as Trump's regime becomes more and more authoritarian, sometimes I actually worry about guys like you that are fighting against the system, because in other countries, when it does go more and more south, people like you are the ones they come for. And so I see KP as one of the last voices of freedom, the only place that, I'm actually get real information from somebody, that's not just, I thought what was going on in LA recently until you mentioned that it was only a few blocks. Because I was there in LA during the riots. I thought, the city blew up again. In reality, it was just a few blocks and you send the National Guard. People need to wake up. And this is one of the only forums where they can get realistic information. So I applaud what you're doing. And I plead for your listeners to do what they can.
I appreciate you, Bobby. Thank you so kindly for that. And I do have a couple of folks to thank. Thank you. I want to thank Robert. Thank you, Robert, out of Houston, Texas. And I want to thank Susan out of Pearland, Texas. Thank you so kindly. I do appreciate your support. We're still ways away, folks. Please give us a call at 713-526-5738, extension number 1, to provide whatever you can. Remember, I'm also asking $5 a month or $10 a month if you can, $100 for a Politics Done Right KPFT t-shirt, or if you want to have coffee with Egberto, and I'll have coffee with anybody, whether you're on the left, the right, MAGA, I don't care who you are. We'll sit down in a public place, have a cup of coffee, and have a pleasant, civil discussion of your choice. And again, it is doing whatever we need to do, folks, to go out there and keep this station up so that we can continue to give the message. I didn't have a lot of time today to shout out all the folks that are listening, the regular crew, but I want to thank you guys. I'll give you a further shout out tomorrow. But right now we got a pitch, and I'm going to be sending it to Elise Bench in a minute. Folks, please.
Stand by, Elise.
We cannot do this without you. You are the ones. And if you've never given before, please consider doing it the first time today, whatever you can. And I tell you something, the first time I gave to a KPFT decades ago, there was that feeling, I don't remember whose show I was listening to. And I said to myself, I can make a difference. Wow. And I can also be heard on air. And they actually also return my emails. Damn. That is community radio. That is what we're talking about. Think about being able to have thousands of these in our country, where we can actually make a difference. Let me throw it to Elise. Elise?
I really love when we have callers that do our jobs for us, because the what was his name? The one that
Eddie.
You just took.
No, not Eddie. Oh God, I just drew a blank. Bobby.
Bobby, thank you so much for your phone call and for what you said from the heart about this radio station and counting on us for being here. I feel the same way. And truly these days, it's not hyperbolic. We are facing something that is truly threatening to the landscape of free speech media. And we're right there in the thick of it, fighting for your voice to be heard, fighting for your neighbors' voices to be heard. And I love when we have fund drive sort of dovetail with elections, because yes, it is election season. There is early voting right now in Texas. And when you support KPFT, you are voting for free speech. You're standing up for what means the most to you. And that is having access to a resource that isn't bought and sold and in the interest of corporate broadcasting. We are here because we're community radio, and we've been a part of your life, hopefully for, as long as you found us. And maybe that was just as long as today. Maybe that's been the entire 55 years we've been here in Houston. We cannot do this without you. The time is now, and it's never been more important to support community radio and free speech media. 713-526-5738. Option 1. We need about $400 to reach that goal right now at kpft.org.
Thank you so kindly, Elise. Folks, think about this. Look, I'm going to be doing this. I do this not just here at KPFT, but I do this continuously because I know the urgency. When I tell you, folks, that I actually do this. So I made a commitment in life probably about 15 years ago, because that, if you remember, after Obamacare, things really started to go south if you take a curve and look at how income inequality and wealth disparity moved and how people started hurting more, etc. And, I used to always say, well, somebody got to do something about it. Somebody got to do something about it. I remember one night sitting down here, and it wasn't my studio then, it was my lab then, because I was doing programming, communication programming then. And I'm like, somebody got to do something. And I'm looking in the mirror, brother. It's, you got to do it. And many others are doing it, have been doing it, and will do it. And that's what we're doing here, folks. And this has been a commitment, a lifelong commitment now, to promote equity, to promote a country that serves not some of us, not a very small amount of us, but all of us. This is KPFT Houston. Anyway, folks, so I'm asking you as kindly as I can. I'm asking you as responsibly as I can. I'm asking you to point out, to let you know, your money isn't wasted here. I get zero out of here, but again, I am also a $10 a month contributor. Elise, Jack, everybody here, they're doing their part in order to do it. We are investing not just in the station, but we are also investing in the rest of our town, the rest of our city, the rest of our state, the rest of our country, what we're doing here. I want to give a big thank you to Claudia and Moz Maniac. Hey, Moz Maniac is in the chat right now as well. Thank you, Moz Maniac. We couldn't do this without you. Folks, we're still a little under $400 short, and I know we can make that up in the next couple of minutes. If those of you who say, you know what, I've never given, let me give them a coffee a month or a couple of coffees a month this time. I can do that. I think it is worth it. I can do that. If you can do that right now, folks, you will be making a huge difference. You're already making a huge difference as you listen, as you let other people know about us. That's making a difference. But financially speaking, to pay the electric bills, to pay the very small staff, to pay for the transmitter rentals, to pay for all these things, folks, you can make a difference. I try, even as we're in Fund Drive, to prepare a full show that allows us to also do a bit of Fund Drive. But now we need you. 713-526-5738, extension 1, or go to kpft.org, select donate, select the gift that you want. Politics Done Right is a program you're supporting, and please give as best as you can. I'm going to give a last throwback to Elise, and then we'll close this baby down. But we need you right now, folks. Please call now. Please go to the website now and provide whatever you can. Elise?
We talk about it a lot on this show, what's happening around us today in the world. And we talk about as well what history can show happens when things like free speech go away, when we don't have the ability to stand up and speak what's in our hearts and in our minds. We're seeing dissent being punished actively around us. Classrooms are being censored. And yes, the press is being muzzled. Truth is absolutely suffering right now. We see it. We are starting to feel it. And if you are afraid of what might happen if we lose this resource, you're not alone. We have a measure of control when we support this radio station at 713-526-5738, option 1, or kpft.org. When you support this radio station, you're saying, yes, I want to engage. I want to challenge. I want to learn. And I know freedom is not guaranteed. You can sustain the freedom that we enjoy with this radio station right now with your pledge of support to Politics Done Right. 713-526-5738, option 1. There's never been a better time to act. kpft.org.
Thank you so kindly, Elise, and thank you, Josephine. So far today we have Josephine, Claudia, and Ms. Maniac, Robert, and Susan. We need about $350 more. If we can get that in the next couple of minutes, I'm going to throw it to the studio before I close out. Studio.
Well, it's voting time, so let's get out there and vote these Grinches out.
Amen. Mayana.
She says she's good.
Okay, great. Anyway, folks, I want to thank you, God. I want to thank all of you guys for listening, for calling in. I want to thank you for your support. We cannot do this without you. You are the ones. You are the ones that are allowing us to continue our existence in a time when it is very tenuous. You are the ones who are helping us inform. As I go off the air in the next minute, please, you can still donate to this show by going to ft.org. And when you go to ft.org and select what you want to provide, please remember to select Politics Done Right as the program from the scroll down that you're supporting. I didn't meet my goal today, but I know I can still meet it if some of you, as I go off the air, go to kpft.org, hit that donate button, select the gift that you want, and scroll down to Politics Done Right. It'll still be credited to this program. I want to thank you all for being here. I love you all. You can go to the rest of the show at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter, politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. You can email me directly at kpft@politicsdoneright.com. Love you all. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It. As